Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts. I have my guest.
Nancy Sporborg.
And I guess today is going to be a little different show. This is my first show since my stroke, that I've had another person here. And so
I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad I'm back. It's this mental integration, as one of my therapists called it. A number of months ago, I think it was, about a couple months after the Pumpkin Fest, that we got together in your organization and we were talking about the Pumpkin Fest. Some people were saying you know what, just do away with it. Some people said downsizing it. Some people said, let's take a break. And you were quite spunky about not doing that. And I said in the Marine Corps thing is let's go down with all guns blazing. And we felt that we were right to push for the Pumpkin Fest, that the Pumpkin Fest had not done anything wrong. The Pumpkin Fest was highly valuable to the city and to the nonprofits. It put Keene on the map, kept it from being just a small New England town, and I felt it was extremely important. I was elected at large, and I was listening to all the people around Keene, and the great majority of them wanted to have another Pumpkin Fest. And you fought hard. You guys fought hard.
We did. We gave it our best shot.
We gave it the best shot. I was 13-1. And
thank goodness for you, Chris.
that picture that they got caught, and it's like, you have to realize in today's digital world, they can catch you at any moment. And a number of people said, wow, you look really disgusted at your fellow city council members. I wasn't disgusted. I gave it my good fight. I was trying to figure out, it was beneficial to the city. I put it there, and I was a little disappointed that the majority of the city councilors just sat there and didn't say anything. But we just went round and round. People were asking for the Pumpkin Fest. A number of towns and cities asked for the Pumpkin Fest. And one of the things I said to the city council, and I did too as a representative at large, I had sent a letter to the governor's office and talked to the governor's office. And I said, well, this is the Keene Pumpkin Fest, but it's also the New Hampshire Pumpkin Fest. And before I let you talk, earlier this morning, I got a phone call from the Boston Globe, and they were talking about it. And it's really amazing in nowadays, boy, even if one person stands up, a lot of people say, yep, and look at it, and they start to question why it wasn't a complete unanimous vote one way. And I think when you fight, people say, hey, there's something there, and they want to get in there. And I said, I need to congratulate Let It Shine and the board of directors, because you guys fought right to the end, and people recognize that.
You got to fight for what you believe is right.
And so you have an announcement, the same announcement that's going on about the same time right now?
I do, and I'd like to, I'm going to ask your permission to read it if I
No
can.
problem at all.
So I can make sure that I get it correct. All right. Hello, New Hampshire, New England, and pumpkin lovers everywhere. If someone told you that something was over that you had worked on for years, that you still believed in all your heart, that you knew brought joy and inspiration to 6-year-olds and many, many others, that set a world record 2 years ago and won a nationally televised show with a $30,000 cash prize, that had inspired Newtown, Connecticut to hold a similar event to help heal their community, that was named the best specialty food event by USA Today. Well, If someone told you it was over, what would you do? We'd hope for a miracle, and that's just what happened. A stranger to us, named Charlie St. Clair, heard that Let It Shine, the Pumpkin Festival organizers, were in that position. And he said, "Not on my watch. Not on my watch will New Hampshire lose an event that attracts people from the world over." That has become part of the fabric of people's lives that people loyally attend year after year. Not on Charlie St. Clair's watch would New Hampshire be denied a spectacular, historic 25th annual Pumpkin Festival. So what would we do? We'd follow Charlie St. Clair to the home of his event, Motorcycle Week, where everyone from the chamber director to the mayor to the newspaper editor to the tourism director to the city manager to the city councilors to citizens passing by have all indicated that they would be thrilled to see the streets of Laconia lined with twinkling jack-o'-lanterns carved by school children, businesses, clubs, neighborhoods, and families. They would love to see a 35-foot tower holding nearly 1,000 glowing jack-o'-lanterns with messages and company logos and wedding proposals. So the deal is sealed. Thanks to Charlie and his city of Laconia and all of you, New Hampshire's 25th Annual Pumpkin Festival, presented by Zippo and produced by Let It Shine, will take place in downtown Laconia, New Hampshire on Saturday, October 24th, 2015, this year. We hope you will carve a pumpkin and come. Your pumpkin counts, and you count. The Facebook page, New Hampshire's 25th Annual Pumpkin Festival, is up and empty and ready to be friended, and the website is pumpkinfestival.org. 6 months from today, we will be in the same spot admiring the results of the work we'll be doing together as a community and as a team. We need to decide many things in the next month. We need to reach out to sponsors who recognize the beauty of this program. Zippo has led the way by committing to their role as presenting sponsor. Yay, Zippo. Depending on which activities we choose and how we organize them, we'll set a budget and we'll determine ways to meet that budget. And we'll set goals together. Our first goals are a spectacular, safe, family-friendly event bringing scores of visitors to enjoy the Laconia downtown and surroundings. In autumn, in the heart of New Hampshire, where every day is amazing, but October 24th is going to be amazing with a capital A. We'd like to fill the hotels and the restaurants and the stores and the shops and the streets, houses and hearts. New Hampshire's 25th Annual Pumpkin Festival in Laconia, where every day is amazing. Let it shine.
First thing I have to say is congratulations for not letting the Pumpkin Fest die.
Thank you.
And I think that is really important. And I think that we're going to have a lot of people from Keene at that Pumpkin Fest. And to some questions, when you highlighted the international ones, and I didn't realize how many international visitors came to Keene until you put up that brown paper for people to write. And I saw Germany, Japan, Thailand, and some people from South America, and I'm going, you'd never spot them, but they were coming because they heard about the Pumpkin Fest.
Right.
The sister city, they had their time here, their week that they came, just so they could see the Pumpkin Fest, and then they went up to Montreal in Canada. And people didn't realize, and I started talking to other people and stuff, tourists that came from around the country or out of the country came here, but they kind of made like a circle all the way up north, see Montreal, Quebec, before they get on their planes in Manchester or Boston to go home.
Right.
So it wasn't just a one-day event that contributed to Keene and New Hampshire.
It was a week
big-
long anyway.
It was a week
couple.
long for people coming in, but it was a month long for the people in Keene, with places like CNS giving out the pumpkins, the schools and everybody carving those pumpkins.
Yes. You know, it's an amazing community effort, the Pumpkin Festival, and it really has been devastating to me that my hometown decided no go. And I think this represents Let It Shine and Ruth as well. You know, I'm not a person who wants to force what I believe is right and what I believe is beautiful on anyone, period. I believe in the Pumpkin Festival, but if Keene doesn't want it, and Keene does not, they were very, very clear. Every single person has been really clear. The city leadership, as well as Keene State, have been very clear. They do not want the Keene Pumpkin Festival. And as devastating as that is, and as sad as that is, I think for lots of people in Keene who just love this festival, there's really nothing we can do about it as far as Keene is concerned. But we can keep the Pumpkin Festival alive by bringing it to Laconia.
And it's part of this, I've been to the hospital, and every time I go to the hospital, I check in with a different person, and a different person says, "Thank you for your vote."
Yeah.
I was in the operating room getting some injections in my shoulder. The nurse is saying, "Thank you for your vote." I was in the skilled nursing facility, and one person who wasn't there came in and said, "I don't want the Pumpkin Fest." But the residents and some of the people working there were saying, "Thank you for your vote." And I think sometimes in government, we start listening just a closed group. We don't listen to everybody that elected us. We didn't take time. And like, in my opinion, the city council did not have to vote when they voted.
No, they did
They
not.
had plenty of time to collect more information. And I was, when I said, "No, this can't be true," but I looked at it and I listened to it, and I listened to WMUR, and two different people stated where the mayor says, "We're not going to have a pumpkin fest this year." But then when I listened to what he said for WMUR twice, the night of, in the newspaper, and the next day when Ray came in here to talk about it, he said, not only are we not having a pumpkin fest this year, but we're never going to have a pumpkin fest, but we'll look for some other type of thing in the fall. And I'm going, well, that kind of sets a bad precedent, because when I listen to what he said in some of our city councils, it's saying is, you can have a festival, but don't be too successful, because once you're successful, we're not going to allow you to do it anymore. And so with Center Stage, if you knew it 20 years ago that the city was going to say, you can only be so successful before we kill you off, why would you ever start in the beginning? And
You know, that's a good question, Chris. But I have to tell you that from day one, and I can represent the first about 10 years of the Pumpkin Festival, it was never easy.
no,
It was always a fight from day one. I think I said to the city council that as I implored them to rise above, to face their fears, to rise above, find a way to do a safety plan. I talked to them about the fact that, you know, everybody's scared. We're all scared. We want to run a safe event, but, you know, the answer is to rise above. Just like Boston Marathon, they rose above. They didn't cancel the Boston Marathon. They rose above. And, you know, I believe that the Pumpkin Festival was founded on rising above. That when I first thought of the idea of the Pumpkin Festival, I went to the fire department, and I sat with the chief and a number of the firefighters, and they said to me very clearly, "There's absolutely no way you're going to put one lit jack-o'-lantern in downtown Keene. They were very clear. I left in tears because it was my dream. And I went to the city council and I asked them to reverse the fire department's decision. And in that particular case, the city council, they weren't all for it, but the majority was, and they reversed the fire department's decision, and that opened the way for the Pumpkin Festival. But all that to say, it was never easy. We've been fighting city council and the city pretty much from day one. And for Ruth Sterling and Let It Shine to find a community that says, we want you, we are excited for you, we open our arms to you, that is a gift. That is a gift. That's the grace wave telling us that we're in the wrong place and we need to move on somewhere. And the saddest part of all of that is that I want to say to the people of Keene and the people who've come for years and years and supported it forever, thank you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's as hard for me as it is for anyone that it won't be here. But it's not going to die. It's going to be somewhere, and that's the gift. That's letting our light shine.
And still on Facebook today and yesterday, there had been so much misinformation about the cost. And I was saying, okay, when it says, $57,000, the city doesn't give you $57,000. That's in-kind services.
Right.
So once the Pumpkin Fest leaves Keene, like it is, the taxpayers don't say $57,000. That's in the budget. Then it means the city is going to have to go, public works and stuff, they're going to have to find something else to do because that's already in their budget. We know they're not going to request that we reduce their budget for $57,000. So the Pumpkin Fest leaving does not save really the people, the citizens of Keene, really $1. And then
But they'll lose a lot of money.
Yes, they will lose a lot of money. And then where it goes and says, oh yes, $90,000 that the taxpayers have to pay. No, Let It Shine in Center Stage always had to pay that extra money.
Yes.
And you had to raise it. Then there was people saying, well, you lost $40,000, so any business that doesn't make money should not stay in business. But the city doesn't pay you if Let It Shine or Center Stage had a deficit for that year. You guys had to make it up.
We had to raise it.
You had to raise it on your own.
Yes.
And so none of that money, all that stuff, ever came out of the taxpayers.
Right.
But everybody's going saying, and then finally, the one I used to get me over and over again, there was no, you guys said that you wanted a budget about $300,000, and you were going to raise that money because you didn't ask for any taxpayer money this year. You guys did what the city council told you guys 4 years ago. We don't want to give you a single penny. You have to be self-supporting. You guys finally came to the city council this year and says, we're all self-supporting. And there was nowhere, I've seen it over and over, even in the Keene Sentinel and some of the other papers, that it was going to cost the city $200,000 to $300,000 to develop a safety plan. And that was over and over again.
And here's the thing, Chris. Bottom line, Pumpkin Festival or no Pumpkin Festival, this city needs a safety plan to keep the neighborhoods around Keene State College safe, period.
Yep.
It doesn't have anything to do with the Pumpkin Festival. And it didn't when the riots happened either. There were 50,000 people downtown, and I would say 49,900 didn't even know what was going on. The city of Keene needs a safety plan, period. Unfortunately, I guess the police have said they don't want to develop one, but you know, if I lived near Keene State College, I'd be down in the police office saying, no, we need this plan, whether we have Keene Pumpkin Festival or not.
Like I was saying, right up the street from my house, about 5 years ago, I think it was, Keene State student shot and murdered another Keene State student. Right down the corner, there was a girl, she had some mental health issues, and she got raped a bunch of times, but she couldn't do. Then the other side, there was a pedophile that was caught in a 12-year-old girl's bedroom. and that not counting the fights and everything. And like I told some of my fellow counselors, one council said it's the pumpkin fest, it's all over with. And I says, no, I'm going to continue to push this until you develop a safety plan for my neighborhood.
Good.
There is no safety plan for my neighborhood. And if women are getting raped and people are getting murdered and there's pedophiles in a 12-year-old girl's bedroom, that means there is no safety plan for my neighborhood. Whether we have the Pumpkin Fest or not, I think my family and other ones around deserve a safety plan.
Absolutely.
And that's not counting the kids partying. That's not counting Foster Street one street over. That's not counting Willow Street right in front of my house. That area has serious problems every weekend. And that should have a safety plan on there if something breaks out.
Absolutely.
If there's 100 kids in the house across the street where I know the guys are selling drugs and they break out, what is the safety plan that contain that from going across the street into my house?
Right. I agree, 100%.
And that's a simple thing, and I think that's what's getting lost in here. And people are saying, oh, it's a pumpkin fest, it's a pumpkin fest, it's a pumpkin fest. It's not the pumpkin fest. People don't realize how neighbors are getting upset. Panucci, me, Mr. Zinn right across the street, we're in ground zero.
Yeah.
And all of us supported the Pumpkin Fest. Other people that live in that area supported the Pumpkin Fest, where we have the opportunity to sustain some of the worst damage. And I think they just weren't listening.
I agree, 100%. Not only do they need a safety plan, but I think that Keene State College needs to wake up a little bit. I think that in the beginning when all of this started to happen, after the riots, I was sure, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was sure that Keene State would come out and say, oh my gosh, we are sorry, we take responsibility, and I truly believe that if they had said, we pledge our students and our staff, we're going to get together a team, and we're going to help you run the safest, bestest pumpkin festival you have ever seen, they could have single-handedly saved the pumpkin festival. They chose not to.
And also, I was going back over to the emails I have. I have a bad habit of saving all the emails and Facebook posts and everything. And with the mayor and the president, again, in the newspaper, where they're talking about whole safety plans, how the city and the college got together on all this stuff, and they got together with Let It Shine. And they got with Let It Shine the week of the week before the festival. Even thought that Ruth had been asking for months and months.
And months. Both to the Keene Police and to Keene State College saying, warning, warning, there's a problem here, pay attention, we need some help. Nothing.
There was numerous meetings between the city manager, the mayor, and the president of the college. And it was kind of like all the way to the end, and it's like saying, holy crap, we forgot to let it shine in. We'll let it shine in the week prior, so if anything happens, we can cover our butt, saying, yes, we had a plan with Let It Shine. Yeah. Ruth and I, both graduates of Keene State College, went and made put some public announcements together to tell the kids. You know, I told them, I said, hey, I did a lot of crazy stuff when I was a graduate, when I was going to Keene State College, but I was lucky. All it was Polaroid and Kodak cameras. And I basically said, if you're going to do anything, remember the possibility that someone is going to film it. And that was the PSA that I made. And I'm going, and I looked at and continue on looking at the stuff. In the past, the police and the fire department always contained the kids because there were numerous mini riots or whatever riots, small riots or disturbances, who depends who you want to talk to at count. But then I was looking at some of the emails and some of the other information from internal documents and everything, then seems like that the college decided, the new vice president of student affairs, the college decided that it looks like they wanted the police to get involved every time there was too many people got together. And I'm going, the police chief had told me before and we don't do that because that entices the kids to riot. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. And I'm just looking at all the documents. Now, in today's people write everything, they put things down, they put things on Facebook, they do press releases. And I'm going saying, you know what? The college had no plan whatsoever.
Right.
The college wasn't talking among themselves because, if anything, it's kind of like if you want to cover your butt, you would get everybody together on the same shit music.
Right, absolutely.
And I just found it was really frustrating.
Very frustrating.
And I'm really glad that Mr. Sinclair stepped up because I had done a bunch of research. 1965, when Laconia had those riots,
Yep.
10,000 motorcycle guys were rioting, and that is extremely dangerous. About the same amount of people got injured in Laconia as Keene, about the same amount got arrested. And I was doing that. It was on national news. It was on international news. And the Laconia City Council got together and says, what are we going to do to stop this problem? And I'm going, their problem was really simple. They came up with an ordinance. Excuse me. They came up with the same ordinance when I was in Southern California, Newport Beach, Huntington Beach. No one is allowed to drink on any porch facing the street. You can drink in your backyard, you drink in your house, all this stuff, because they knew how enticing it was when you get 40 or 50 people sitting on the roof, sitting on the porch, drinking.
Right.
And it was like so simple. And and look what they have. They've had no problems whatsoever.
Right.
The governor has helped send state police there at time at no cost. And there was so many ways that this could have gone forward.
You know, Charlie St. Clair, he's a remarkable man. He came to the city council meeting where we fought for the Pumpkin Festival, and he drove all the way down from Laconia just to stand up for us. And when he was finished, he just walked out and he just was shaking his head. He said, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that your city council isn't supporting you. I can't believe this is going to happen. And he continued to fight for us. He gave us all the tips he could. He was really trying to make sure that Keene got to keep the Keene Pumpkin Festival. His heart was in the right place. Remarkable gentleman, and he's the one who really paved the way for us to go to Laconia and really, talked it up, made sure that we had the mayor and the city council and, the downtown. And he's been a real gift to the Pumpkin Festival, and we really thank him.
When a guy who has 200 to 300 bikers and other people over like a 9-day period comes down and says, I'm willing to work with you to come up with a safety plan for a third to a quarter of the size of my event. And it's like, sorry, what's the matter? You don't have any experience or you don't know what you're talking about, but we don't want you involved.
They didn't even listen. They didn't even listen. They didn't really even acknowledge anything, any of the things that people said. And that meeting was really a beautiful meeting. There was a older gentleman who came, I can't remember his name, but he just sat down and he kind of turned to the side and he said, well, so on October 17th, when I come downtown with my pumpkins and I have my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren with their pumpkins, what do I tell them? And there was a woman who came from Pepperell, Mass,
Yep.
who spoke for the festival. Just really, the hotels were represented, the nonprofits were represented. I'd say that there was, for every 4 or 5 comments for the Pumpkin Festival, there might have been one against. And then they stopped the discussion and voted, and there was really very little discussion. They'd made up their minds.
Well, like when I read my little speech to him, I apologized to Mr. Bates. Mr. Bates he was really into it. He spoke to the city council, and some of the remarks by my fellow council people said, well, what can you couldn't find a babysitter, and I'm going, no, this is a guy who is he brought the hotel to Keene. He saved the EF lane, and I think they own another one, and they're upgrading the stuff. And he has created a lot of jobs for Keene. He's paying a lot of taxes for Keene. There'd be a flippant remark like that and say, well, can't find a babysitter? When we have done over and over again, if someone hasn't been able to make it, we just put it on more time. Or another one when said, well, we know when we're getting played. And it's like, I'm going, no. It's like, wait a minute. Like I told them, you don't speak for me. But the city council wasn't getting played. Mr. Bates, Mr. Sinclair, the people that own the old Ramada, comes and says, hey, I write a check for $22,000 to the state for room and meals tax just for that weekend. When the 5 guys get together and says, we have about $1 million in revenue over that weekend. And it's like, what's going to happen next week? Lab and Lager they make about $12,000 extra a year, and they use that money last time to expand their outdoors so they have more customers. He's saying that his bartenders make about $500-600 at night just in tips. I was talking to Mrs. O'Mara last night, and she was saying she takes all that extra money and pays the down payment on her oil bill to help her businesses. And Athens makes a lot of money. We had one person that was talking against the Pumpkin Fest, says, well, I don't know, people are going to steal from me and everything. Well, yeah, you close your door and you set up shop outside and you're making a lot of money. And I was frustrated, and I think it was about 3 years ago when we used to have Cheshire TV out there. And I would talk to one guy from Connecticut. He said he comes up every single year to bring pumpkins and bring his family and grandkids up. There was a lot of people out of town. And the other one, I know I'm hogging all this up, but there was another one that says, well, these nonprofits are just going to have to learn to make money from other places. Well, as a United Way and the other, there is only so much money in Keene. If I go and make $10,000 in Keene for my nonprofit, that means that's $10,000 other nonprofits, because the nonprofits in Keene will now have to cannibalize each other. Yeah. Where in taxes and raising nonprofit, you want people from outside the community to bring their money in and to leave it in the community. And they've been doing it for years, leaving a lot of money in the community for nonprofits.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. I think that really across the board, a lot of people lose when the city council decided not to have the Pumpkin Festival, that the local nonprofit organizations, all the businesses in downtown, the hotels, the motels, all the restaurants, not only do we lose a lot of money, but to me it's really much bigger than that. I think that, Ruth Sterling said to me, Nancy, she had this list of all these different communities that have said they wanted the Pumpkin Festival, and she said to me, what's the most important thing for you? What do you want those communities to know? And I said to her, I said, well, you know, a lot of these communities want the Pumpkin Festival because it's famous and it brings in great PR and lots of money. And I said, I get that. But the reason that it's famous and it brings in lots of money and good PR is because we did it for the right reason. We did it from the heart. We did it because we wanted to create a community event. It makes me cry. That's why we did it, and that's why it became famous, and that's why it holds the light. That's why it is such a beautiful event, because we did it for the right reasons. And I would say to every single community that's out there, I have always said this from day one when Pumpkin Festival started. The more pumpkin festivals we have out there in the world, the better off we're going to be. If you're carving pumpkins with your kids, that's a good thing. If your community makes news because of carving pumpkins, that's a good thing. And so when Sandy Hook called Ruth Sterling and I and said, we want to have a pumpkin festival to help our community heal, there's just nothing better than that.
That's right.
Nothing better. And I went to their first one. I carved pumpkins that said, Keene, New Hampshire loves Sandy Hook. And it was a beautiful event. And they continue to run it. And I would say to all the communities that have said they were interested in the Pumpkin Festival that, you know, start small. Start in your community. Every pumpkin counts. Every person matters. Start with that. Start from the heart. And yours will grow just as big as Keene's, because there's magic in it. There's magic in it.
And when you say you did not bring in a professional organization to put in a pumpkin fest to make a lot of money. You guys started small with volunteers.
Started right. It was all volunteers, and we started small. And really, the base really two things. We wanted to help re-enliven downtown Keene, which we did. It's too bad that we can't continue to do that. But anyway, that we wanted to reinvest in our downtown. At the time that we started Pumpkin Festival, Sears had closed, Quality Shop had closed, Good
Nose.
Yep, Good Nose. So there was lots of downtown stores boarded up, and over the years, it has really helped downtown Keene revitalize. So that was number one. And number two is that we wanted to have an event where we could bring the community together in celebration throughout the year, and that we could help every single person recognize that we wanted them to be a part of it. So, you know, and this, the last thing I'll say about this is, you know, so many people have said to me over the years, Nancy, it's too big. Get rid of Guinness. It's not important. Don't do that. Bring it back to the community. I'll say two things to that. First of all, why would we want to bring this beautiful light that we've created that is open to the world and bring it back to the community and hide our light under a bushel? Why wouldn't, if we've got something beautiful, why not let it shine so the whole world can see it? If we had only kept it a small community event, Sandy Hook would never have been running this event to help them heal, right?
Right.
So it's like for one day, we get to show the world what a small community can do when we come together for a greater good, period. There isn't anything better than that, nothing. And the other piece of it is that we wanted everybody to know that they mattered. We wanted everybody to participate. So that's where the Guinness thing comes in. It isn't about the number. I mean, yes, we try to break a world record, but when I say, hey, Chris, we're going to try to break a world record, please bring a pumpkin. You matter. Your pumpkin counts. That is the impetus that helped people say, hey, let's do that. Everybody in the family carve a pumpkin and bring them down. Everybody mattered. Everybody counted. The community came together for a greater good. We created this magical site. How can you not love that? I don't know.
And I think what people don't realize is a lot of people, they do a lot of things, and they really don't, in their life, they really don't have much to brag about. But when you set the world record, you go, like my granddaughter is 9 years old and stuff, and other people, it says, I didn't do this. I didn't win. We set a world record. And it really enlivens people. And it's that, like I said, the I is gone. We set a world record.
Right.
And you're right. Everybody that brought a pumpkin there or bought and carved a pumpkin, they became something. So when
Right.
someone goes and says the Guinness World Record, or they can get the book and say, see that? We set the record.
Exactly.
And
That's
People-
what it's all about.
people go, you look at people who win the Super Bowl or you win the World Series, all excited they get. 2 years ago, when you set the world's record, what was the difference between that crowd downtown, and New England Patriots when they won the Super Bowl? There was no difference.
Right.
For the people, this was extremely important. They went home happy. Look at the people that stayed there until they wanted to be there when the announcement was made, so they could be a part of it.
And you're exactly right. You know, when somebody carves a pumpkin and brings it down, it's not the pumpkin festival, it's theirs. They're
theirs.
part of it. It becomes them. And so yes, the number's theirs. They win. We all win. I love that. And 2 years ago when we set that record, 32,581, a number that I will never forget and I'm very, very proud of. I'm really, really glad that Keene was able to bring the record back to Keene before this happened, because I think it started in Keene and I wanted Keene to have that record.
One of the things I noticed, the times that you set the record, there's a lot of people that go in and pick up their own pumpkin and bring it back.
Yeah.
And it's like their piece of history. They want to
Yes,
say,
yeah.
this is my pumpkin. This pumpkin right here was part of the record. I'll put it on my porch and let it rot away or whatever, but that was my record set in pumpkin.
Right.
And it's kind of like when you go in and you need 12 points to set the record, and you get 12 points, and all 12 people believe that they were the 12 points.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that was really so important. People I don't think understand it. They don't get it.
When you go to the festival and you walk along and you look at all those pumpkins, I don't know how people cannot be touched by that. There are amazing pumpkins. People put their lives in those pumpkins. They write their girlfriends' names. They write the people they love. They write they're in AA. They write that they're sober for 12 years. They write that they've overcome some disability. They write that they're in love. They draw hearts and they have faith. Every year I walk down the pumpkins and I just cry and cry and cry.
And like we go back to the brown paper.
I love
when
that.
people was writing, and I took a lot of pictures of it. Cancer free,
Yes.
married 57 years, the one from California, or they're going, will you marry me, or Jenny was my first love, and there's so many things there, and it's going down and going in like reading an emotional
Yes.
book. At first, there was a few people that were doing nasty stuff and bigoted and racist stuff. But then once you took that out and it got going, and you were walking down there and reading that, it was every single comment was a person's life.
Yes, just like the
Every-
pumpkins.
Every single one. And just stop to realize, here it is. You've got 60, 70,000 people, and people are writing some of their innermost secrets on that for another 50, 60,000 people. It was kind of like it gave them a freedom to unload some of their emotional baggage.
And you know where that came from?
No.
Ruth, the way that all started was Ruth Sterling and Let It Shine had to have the dumpsters out for the Pump Dump Derby. They had
Set
the
'em
first
up.
year they ran the Pumpkin Festival. A whole mess of Keene State College students threw pumpkins all over the street. Community was furious. Let It Shine came back and said, "Okay, we're going to get the kids that were throwing the pumpkins involved in cleaning them up." They started the Pump Dump Derby where Keene State College students helped clean it up. So they had these huge dumpsters in each of the areas. So that was what happened the second year that Let It Shine ran it, is they had these huge dumpsters, but they got all kinds of complaints about the dumpsters because the dumpsters were this huge eyesore.
yeah.
And I said, well, wait a minute. Let's make them into artwork. Let's give people a chance to share on those dumpsters. And we covered them with the brown paper. And I believe this is what I believe in. This is what I want more than anything else in the world. Or we started a sentence and we let people fill it. And I was putting up the brown paper on one dumpster, and I think it said, "This what I want more than life itself, or what I want more than anything else in the world." And I saw a woman standing over here, and she was looking at it, and she'd walk away, and she'd come back, and she'd walk away, and she'd come back, and I handed her the magic marker, and she wrote, "To be loved."
Yeah.
And it was just like, you just.
And so you're going in. That woman had a lot of emotional baggage, and to be able to go in and tell right down there to share it is, I just want to be loved, and that is really deep and it's
part of the beauty
personal,
of the Pumpkin
and that's
Festival.
part of it. And I think the whole time of the Pumpkin Fest is, you got people that want to make businesses and stuff that want to make money. Well, but you need those to help support that. That's plenty of the city council and everybody said you got to raise all your money to be self-supporting. And so you have to bring some more in. Over the years, you changed how it went. You shrunk it down. I was upset after the 2012 where the Keene State College's students went wild and everything, that we lost that Friday night, which was such a community event. Us and Keene, Friday night belonged to us.
Yes.
And then Saturday, we went out of town to let other people come into the community to enjoy it.
Right.
The unfortunate part of not having the Pumpkin Fest this year is we were going to have that Friday night back for the, but it's a mass of people that get together to share one event. They intermix.
They do. Chris, I want to, Ruth had asked me to make sure that I said one thing, and that is that if any other communities in New Hampshire that want to run a pumpkin festival, we would love it if they did. And one thought would be that if other communities in New Hampshire ran the pumpkin festival on October 17th, and they saved their pumpkins, that we could figure out a way to transport the pumpkins from all over New Hampshire up to Laconia to help us set a record in Laconia. So, she's
a New Hampshire record,
right?
yeah.
So a New Hampshire record. So that would be cool. We could. Ruth talks about preserving the pumpkins in refrigerated trucks and delivering them to Laconia as part of the statewide effort to rise above and heal.
And
which would be an awesome way for people to still be able to participate in the pumpkin festivals, to carve your pumpkin and let's figure out a way to get the pumpkins up to Laconia so that Keene and all the towns who were gracious enough to say that they were interested in the pumpkin festival can still be a part of this.
Hopefully, I don't know that we in Keene can get pumpkins. We can carve the pumpkins. Because there are people saying they're carving pumpkins, and I'm pretty sure on October 24th, you're going to see a bunch of pumpkins around downtown because that's people's silent protest or whatever. And if we had the schools and stuff carving those pumpkins, I would love for those pumpkins to go up to Laconia because that means Keene would still be part of the Pumpkin Fest. I wouldn't be too happy if the record was broken, but I'm happy if the record, if the people of Keene carved their pumpkins, the schools and stuff did it, and we transported it up to Laconia. To me, we'd still be part of the record.
Part of it, exactly.
For us not to take part at all and say nothing, that's like standing by and let someone come into your house, steal one of your most precious items, and just watch. We worked hard over those years.
We'd worked very hard
to get those records. And one of the things that was going forward, they were talking about, well, having more festivals, maybe 4 or 5 festivals to make up for the loss. But I kept saying over and over again, and you can probably explain it more to me over things, is people don't realize how much time volunteers have to invest for a one-day event to go smoothly.
It's huge. It's huge. And I think that it would be, people said similar things to me. They said, oh, we'll just take a year off and then we'll do it next year. It's not that, it doesn't work like that. We have the wheels going. We have a pretty well-oiled machine, but once you stop that machine, it's a Herculean effort to get it to start again. And to be honest with you, I am just not willing to face the city council and the city manager and the mayor and everybody else again. I'm done. As I said, I don't go where I'm not wanted, and that message has been really clear. And I love the Pumpkin Festival, and I love that Keene had it for so many years, and I love that the community loves it. And I would just ask people to open their hearts and support it in a different place, and to know that Let It Shine is truly sorry that we can't continue to run it here, but the message has been really clear.
Yeah, because, and the other part is, well, I was in here October, unfortunately, I was in Fodham rehabbing, but even when Let It Shine came to start the Pumpkin Fest, the city manager cut really low to what he used to give center stage, and I think at one time it was up to $70,000 in kind service. And then I think when Ruth came in, it was cut to like 35 in half.
When Ruth came in and Let It Shine started, I'm telling you, they had it was tough. It was tough going, and I don't know if people know the story, but Ruth Sterling bought 130 cement barricades on her own because the city council, because the police and fire, the safety guys said, we can't run the event because we don't have the barricades anymore. So Ruth went out with her own money, bought 130, those huge cement barricades. Well, I'm talking about
Jersey
500.
barriers.
Yeah, those, okay. She bought the barriers. Are you kidding me? So that's a perfect metaphor for what Let It Shine and Ruth Sterling has had to go through for the past 4 years running
Then
Pumpkin
the clamp
Festival.
to pick up the barriers.
Exactly.
The state got with the state to do that.
She had to pay to have them delivered to Keene.
Yep.
She had to beg Keene to store them.
Yep.
Even though she said, use them.
Keene
They're
can
yours.
use them anytime they want. Yeah, because she's giving really the barriers to Keene. She's giving the clamp to Keene. And the other part is, pat myself on the back, I had to fight really 3 years, every single year, to get a little bit extra money for Let It Shine and to get the Pumpkin Fest. And I'm stingy with money, but $5,000 here or $10,000 here, I understood the payback to the overall community. But yeah.
And we are so grateful for your support, Chris. Grateful.
The last 4 years, to put it bluntly, has been hell.
Hell.
You go in there behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely.
And you got to keep pulling out all these resources out of your pocket to really have a chance.
Yeah.
And
it was tough. It was tough.
And we got about 2. Ruth has really gotten beat up over the last 4 years. And I'm glad that you helped calm her down, because sometimes she wanted to go fist to fist. They weren't nice to her.
They weren't nice to her. And, I say to people, you've got to be a strong, an incredibly strong person to run the Pumpkin Festival, because it's unbelievable what you end up having to do. And Ruth is that. And we have her to thank for the last 4 years of Pumpkin Festival.
And so we'll have the 25th Pumpkin Festival at Laconia,
Yes.
October 24th.
Yes.
And I want to thank you. I want to thank Ruth and everybody in Let It Shine for everything that you guys have done. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very
Yep.
much, Chris.
Okay. And we're done right on time.